Good evening. This is just going to be a quick video. It's after the wedding. They're at home. They've gone on a couple of dates. We're trying to finish off their soulmate and trying to get their son's conflict resolution up so we can age him up to a teenager when we're ready to. I'll be going to other families now, though, so it won't be for a while yet, but he'll be ready to be a teenager. So, like I said, okay, this is my opinion only. I mean, there's a lot of opinions out there, but I played through the wedding now with a couple of families, and I'll have to say that overall, the parties before, the rehearsal party and all the other parties, they all work just fine. There's no issues really with those. The wedding part, well, having your people, first of all, choose a venue that has just one wedding venue in it. So one place for them to go and walk up the aisle and get married at. Because if you choose the one that's in the map that has two, then delete out one of them and keep the other one, because if you got two, it just causes confusion for your Sims. They don't know where they're supposed to be. And some of them will sit at one venue and some of them will sit at the other, and it'll just be a problem. So you want to choose the wedding venue with just one area to get married in. Now, when you do choose one that just has one, and you send your people up the aisle, like your the ones that are standing up for your Sims, and your ring boy, the ring child, and the flower child, they all go just fine. There's no issue there. They go up the aisle and they go and they take their seats after they're done. You can send your two Sims up together after that, and they no problem there either. They walk up the aisle just fine. And they go up to the arch, so if you click on the arch right after, you can choose for them to get married with an officiant, which I didn't try, so I don't know if that works. But it does work with exchanging vows on their own, and the spousal kiss and all that works. Then you can have the other Sims throw rice and have your two Sims walk back down the aisle, and that works without a hitch. So overall, the ceremony part didn't have any issues with. The Sims all stayed seated. I mean, there was the odd Sim that kept changing their seat. One Sim that couldn't stay seated kept moving from spot to spot. But they stayed in the same place. They just moved from one chair to another chair. And all the guests watched the wedding and, cried, laughed, whatever. And where I ran into issues was the meal part and the dancing. Okay, the first dance, you can tell them till you're blue in the face, and they don't do it. They will not do the first dance. You will have to choose to have them slow dance together, and they'll do that. But it's not the same thing. I mean, it still checks off as the first dance, so I guess it doesn't really matter, but it would be nicer if, you picked on the ceremony for them to have their first dance, and that's what they did. But that's not what they do. They basically just stand there until you tell them to have a slow dance together, and then they will. But they don't respond to the first dance command. As far as the group having a wedding dance, like having everybody gathered there on the dance floor, that's hit and miss. I mean, some people do, some people don't, and yeah, not everybody comes. Okay, so the dancing part needs fixing because it doesn't work properly. The other thing was cutting the cake. No, They won't cut the cake. That doesn't happen. They don't cut the cake. They just do the refuse thing. So what I had to do was just have them, get a slice of cake and share it between each other, and that worked. And then everybody takes a piece of cake, so that part works. And they all sit down at the table if the tables are right there. And you can get your couple to sit at the upper table if you want by just telling them to sit on those seats with their cake. And then you might have to reset some of the other Sims because they all try to go to that head table for whatever reason. The toasting works too, basically. I mean, it's not as good as it could be, but it does work. You can ask a friend, one of the people that stood up for you to do a toast, and they will. You can do a toast yourself, and the other Sims will toast after. The meal part works to an extent. You tell them to grab a dish together, and they all will, and they'll all go and sit down at the tables. But you have to make sure you have that table, with the meal inside the room with the tables, next to the tables, not a mile away, because then they'll just stand there. They won't go and sit at the table. But I had it in the same room as the tables, as well as the cake was in the same room as the tables, and so was the wine for toasting, and I didn't have an issue with any of that. So the only issue was the cake cutting. They didn't cut the cake. You couldn't get them to cut it. You could get them to get a piece and share it with their spouse, but you couldn't get them to cut it. So that's where I had my issues. So it was just a couple of things, there is workarounds by just, having them just share the piece of cake. It still ticks off as, the cake. It still ticks off as part of that. So your wedding still clears through. And the other only major issue that I had that wedding went on forever. I mean, they were there all night and it was still going. I had to exit out. Because, Sims were falling asleep all over the place, and everybody was hungry again, and it was just a mess. Nobody was going home, and it was just kept on going and going and going and going. So the wedding needs to end at a certain point. The whole list is ticked off. I think it's time to end the wedding. All the other events end, but the wedding does not. It keeps going and going and going. And maybe they, but honestly, my Sims started their wedding at noon one day, and it went through the whole night and all the way till noon the next day, and it was still going. And I finally said, no, they gotta go home. So they did end up with gold anyway, but the point is that they had to, I had to tell them I had to end the wedding because it just wasn't ending. So, yeah, that was a major issue for me. The wedding needs to end. All the other things I could work around, that I could not. The only thing I could do was end it by Xing it out. And then you get the ending early, whatever message, and there may be something that I missed out on because I had to end early, but they didn't get their gold wedding item that they're supposed to get, which is that statue with the flowers on it. They didn't get it because I had to X the wedding off, and they didn't get nothing even though they got a gold wedding. So yeah, the other thing is that cake cutting is I don't like the fact that I have to just do the piece of cake thing. I want my bride and groom to cut their cake, or spouses to cut their cake, and basically this hasn't worked since before the pack. So it's not like it's a new issue, it's an ongoing issue. And it would be nice if they fixed it, because it's just one of those things that kind of make the game a little bit more fun. And I could not get the whole wedding party, everybody that was there, to do the line dance, and it kind of was glitchy, and that was also sort of glitchy when you pre-party things like the bachelor party and the and the rehearsal dinner, if you had the dancing and you wanted to do like a line dance. The line dance is super cute, and I really like it. But the fact that not everybody in the group danced it was only some of them that danced it, and it should be all. But there was only like, sometimes it was just the two spouses dancing, and sometimes it was the two spouses and a couple of other guests that were there that were dancing. And there always seemed to be one person that wasn't in the dance. So at least one person, sometimes more. So they need to look into that a little bit too. It doesn't work quite as well as the get-together clubs do. It's glitchy, although the get-together clubs sometimes glitches like that. And this is just a little bit worse. Maybe I'm thinking maybe there's too many people, but I mean, with the get-together clubs, you can have 8 people and they all dance at the same time. So I don't think so, because the wedding, anything I did, it was always no more than 8 people. So I don't know. Maybe they can look into that. Anyway, it was just my opinion of wedding stories. Anybody who doesn't like dealing with glitches, I would suggest not getting it until after, although it doesn't prevent you from having a wedding. Okay, so even if you don't want to do their type of wedding ceremony, you can just get married at the altar and do it the way you used to do it, just not the same. You don't get the ceremony part the same, like you wouldn't get the event where you have to tick off everything. You just basically would be able to go up and have everybody sit down and then go up and get married. I mean, it works as far as that is concerned. You know, like the wedding works as far as the ceremony part's concerned. The only part that's wishy-washy is the after the wedding, you know, getting them to eat, getting them to cut the cake, getting them to dance together, that kind of thing. That's the only part that doesn't work. The ceremony part worked just fine in both the weddings that I did. So I don't know what anybody else is. You know, I know there was a lot of people saying it didn't work, but it does. I didn't really have any problem with that. My problems were just with the after wedding party, like everything after. I ran into trouble there, you know, like with the, I suggest people, you know, when you get to the wedding, when you first go there, what I did, like, and also the people do not come dressed appropriately, so you basically, what I did was when I came there with my couple and the wedding party, all the people that were in the wedding and at the wedding, what I did was have my couple go to each person and ask to see their formal wear, and then they all changed into formal wear. So you can do that. I mean, it's not the appropriate colors or anything, because that doesn't work. You can't set that up. The wedding cake disappears, so you put it in there and it's gone. It does not show up at your wedding. So be sure to take a second wedding cake with you because you're going to need it. Because the wedding cake that you choose does not show up at your wedding. I just took a second cake with me. There was no issue then. And a second topper. The other thing, let's see. So, and then I suggest forming a group with everybody. And that kind of makes it a little bit easier for you, because you can say, go together here, and then tell them what to do when they're all there. Have your people, don't bother with having your people sit down to start with. I didn't bother with that. I just had everybody standing there, and I just sent the people up the aisle that had to go up the aisle, and they sat down, and then I told everybody else to take their seats. And I sent the bride and groom, the spouses up after. So that worked that way, and I didn't have an issue with it. So, I mean, it's not going to be perfect. This game is always not perfect, but I mean, overall, if all the little things that are wrong are fixed, it does add a lot of gameplay to weddings. But as far as a pack is concerned, it probably should have just been something that was updated in the base game. It shouldn't have been given out as a pack, but, I mean, whatever. Because to me, like, it's weddings is part of life simulation, and it should be in the pack to start with. It's not something you should have to buy extra. I don't think that all the stuff that they gave with the wedding pack is worth the pack price. I think that all the activities and things should have been part of the base game wedding pack. It shouldn't have been something that you have to buy later. But overall, the pack is, I would probably rate it at about a 6 once it's all fixed. Just because I think that it isn't something you should have had to buy. It should have come with the base game. It should not have been extra. It just all of a sudden got sneezes going on here. But that's my opinion of it, and I don't know, like, not much else I can say about it. I did it with 2 different people. It worked out both times. Wasn't perfect first time because a lot of things went wrong, like having the 2 venues there and not being able to have my Sims sit down. But I had to reset Sims. I suggest not putting the wedding cake on the table till you're ready to use it, because sometimes strangers come in and they start cutting your cake and take a piece, or sometimes your guests help themselves before it's time. So all I can say is, like, keep the wedding cake in your pocket till you're ready to use it. Put it on the table when you're ready to use it with the topper, and then use it. But you can't cut the cake, but you can take a piece and share it, which is still better than what we had. But I remember at one time, my Sims would cut the cake and share the cake and everything, and the cake cutting hasn't been working for a long time though, so it's nothing to do with this pack. It's the way it's been for a while now. But I hope that helps you if you are thinking about getting the pack. I would suggest that you wait till they fix it, and maybe even wait till it's on sale, unless you don't care about the money part. Because it, like, even though it adds something to the weddings, it doesn't. A lot of stuff I think is in base game, so you don't really need the pack for it. Like slow dancing, I'm pretty sure is part of base game now. Cutting of the cake was always part of the base game. The wedding meals was always part of the base game. Having, like best man, best woman, whatever you want to call them, your ring boy and your ring child and your flower child. And those, I don't know if they're part of the base game. But, unless you really want that for your wedding, wait for it to come on sale, because you can still do weddings without it. The wedding venue part, I don't know if they fixed that. I didn't try creating a wedding venue. I just used the one that was in the game. But I'll probably be waiting for them to do patches before I do any more weddings. Just because I want it to work a little bit better than it does. I don't need to struggle. I'm kidding. I've been struggling getting my Sims married for so long already. The majority of the time, I've taken to just eloping because it was easier and not such a hassle. But I do like to have the big wedding, but it still needs a little bit of work for this pack. So if you're like not worried about the money, I still suggest that you wait till they put the patches through and fix it. But yeah, it doesn't break your game though. So I mean, like, the game still functions with everything else. And the other thing is, this pack gives you this teapot, but this teapot stinks, and your Sims smell something stinky when this teapot is in the room, whether it's been cleaned or not. Like, this is a clean teapot, but my Sims will walk into this room and smell it and think it stinks. It's just like, I don't know if anybody watching had the issue with popcorn makers. Like, if you have the popcorn, like the movie pack, I had the issue with the popcorn maker where my Sims always smell something stinky in their kitchen, and it took me forever to figure out it was the popcorn maker. And so I stopped using the popcorn makers because I didn't want getting disgusted by the stink every time they walked into the room. So I've been using them again recently, and I've noticed that my Sims don't seem to react to them the same. So they might have patched that, but they're going to have to patch it with the Teapot too, because, yeah, every time my Sims come in the room, they smell this Teapot, and they don't like the smell. And I know it's the Teapot because in the other house that I have this in, I had it in their kitchen, and anytime they walked into their kitchen, they didn't like the smell, and I moved the Teapot out to the living room, and they no longer got that bad odor smell from the kitchen, but they got it in the living room, so it's obviously the Teapot. So, for whatever reason, it stinks. And I really like this, the way they've done this, where you serve the tea to people and everything else. I like it, so I don't want to go back to the old teapot, but I don't want my Sims being disgusted by the smell every time they come around. So I don't know if I'm going to go back to the old one or not, and I prefer the teapots to the coffee pots because the teapots do more for your Sims than the coffee pots do. So, I mean, you can get them focused, you can get them inspired, you can get them flirty, you can pretty much get them any way you want them. And so, confident. So, to me, the teapot is much more useful than the coffee pot. The coffee pot can only energize your Sims, where the teapots can energize, but they can do other things too. So, I prefer the teapot. None of my Sims have a coffee pot in their house, so they all have teapots. Anyway, that's all I'm going to talk about for that, and I don't think I'll broadcast this family when I'm just finishing them off, so they'll still be in the map and everything and in the world, but I want to get their soulmate done. They have one more date to do, and to finish off the romantic things each, and then we'll be done with their soulmate. And then I want to get their son's conflict resolution up, because I always do the kids' conflict resolution when they're kids, because it's much easier than trying to do it when they're teenagers. Empathy can wait till they're teenagers, so can emotional control. So I do manners when they're kids, and conflict resolution, and responsibility gets done fairly simply, so. But conflict resolution, yeah, because you can have your parents teach your kids to say, uh, you know, uh, say sorry, and it builds their conflict resolution. And that way, when they're teenagers, they don't need to go around talking to all these people and helping them with their problems. It's just done. I mean, they can go on volunteering, and sometimes they get some conflict resolution from that, but it takes much longer that way. It's so much faster just doing it when they're children. The other way is good to keep it up. Like, if you don't want to, you just keep their conflict resolution up until you're ready to age them up to young adults. And I usually keep my teens as teens for a while. I get them quite a few skills before I age them up to young adults. Decide what course they're going to take in university and work on the corresponding skills for those courses. I also do other things like their art and things like that always get done, but yeah. But from this family, I'm probably going to go to the D'Amico family because I've had them in here the longest, and I want to get their son finished his stuff and ready to be aged up to a teenager. I want to do that with this whole neighborhood of children. Not that they're going to be aged up first, because they won't be, because I have other children in the map that should be aged up before all of these. So I'll do those ones first. And then I'll come back to these ones after those ones are all done, and I'll age them up once I make sure all their things are there where they're supposed to be. I'm just sort of a completionist when it comes to my Sims. I like to have all their stuff done, and that's why I will age them up. I have a lot of Sims in this map, and yeah. I'm gonna save these guys. So I'm going to finish off these two parents and their stuff, and then I'll get them into jobs, but I won't finish off their careers. I'll just get them started in their careers. I'll finish their careers later on. When I come back to age up their son to a teenager. And they'll age up at the same time. So I kind of move them along that way. I don't have aging on, and that way I can, because I have so many Sims in this map that I can't have aging on if I want to get everybody's stuff done, which is what I want to do, so yeah. I can tell you what I mean. I have Sims that are being played right now. That's capped at 148 right now. So I have 148 Sims that I regularly am playing. The majority of them are Sims that I created, although I do have a few Sims that aren't Sims that I created. Just mainly this family here. My friend Netwire created this family. If I go into other households, there are households here too that I have created. So, Party House is here, but it is not the same group. It's all Sims I've created. And, let's see. This is the Vittori family. Basically, Lilith is a guy, and he's married to Paulo. And then my female sim is married to Caleb. Well, it's a clone of my main sim. And these ones are all, this one's created from my friend Net, this one's from my friend Net. The rest of these are mine. This one is not mine, but it's like in the world, so these ones are, this one is, I don't know why this one's even in up above these guys, but whatever. This one was a game generated sim. I just threw them into a household. These ones are mine. I'm not sure who this chick is. These guys are mine. These ones and these ones are as well. These ones are as well. Like, there's a lot that are mine in here. They'll get leveled, but the ones that aren't mine won't get leveled. I won't do anything with them. Most of the currently not in world will stay. These households are just, I'm not sure why I have them in here. Okay, so this is the last household that I created. I didn't create this guy here. I don't know why he's in amongst my households. I want to delete him. He's not and shouldn't be there. Tashman, I did not create Tashman. He was just a random sim, but I put him in the house. And Carrington, I also did not create him. He's a random sim. But he's in the house. And I'm not sure why this chick is in here. I don't remember creating her. I don't think I did. I'm pretty sure I didn't. She doesn't have a story. And these two guys, well, I just stuck them in a household together. This is a family of older Sims that all live on one lot. They have 4 different houses, plus, well, 5, including Ruthie's house. Ruthie has her own house, and she rents out all the littler houses to all these guys. So some of them, the one set is a couple, and the rest are all single, and they have their own rooms. And these guys all live in Brightchester. They're all supposed to be university students. So these two here are the only ones up here that I didn't create, but my friend Netwire created those. All the rest I did, except for this one. I don't know who she is or how she even got there. And this guy I didn't create. I didn't make her, and I don't know why she's even there. And I didn't make him. So the 4 of them I didn't. Oh yeah, and these 2. Rest I did. So when I get done with all the households that are here, I usually move them out to the other side and move another household over here that I need to play with. I basically know who all these people are, where they live, and what they need. So that's why they stay here. This is a couple that somebody else created, and I just put them in the map for now. There's a placeholder. Said no, it doesn't say who made them. But it wasn't me. Oh yeah, it's a proper family. These ones live in Brightchester as well. She lives by herself. She's a teenager. She's dating Scarlett and Rhett's son. Scarlett and... Here, she's dating Rhett. Not Rhett. Emmett. She's dating Emmett. Scarlett and Rhett's son. And all these teens are in a club together. I don't think this one is. He's not in the club. But all the other ones are. Anyway. Thanks for joining me if you did, or I hope that was useful to somebody. I'll talk to you later. Bye.